Welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. Here's your host, Morgan Colby and Rick Lemon.
Welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. It's Tuesday, April 16th, 2019. My name is Morgan Colby. This is Rick Lemon right across from me.
What's up?
How you doing, my dude?
Well, I'm doing swell.
Swell.
You know how it is.
Yeah, every time. With the NFL draft coming up, we will discuss the top 5 rookies from each position in 2018. So we're going to talk about 2018 rookies, how they succeeded for the next 2 weeks leading into the big honcho.
Also known as the NFL draft.
The NFL draft. And then we'll do a big recap show, and following that, we'll do some ranking shows for you guys before we get into the real grind of dissecting drafts.
Yep.
And then fantasy football is back, people.
Pretty much, yeah.
It never stops, realistically, but I cannot wait for the NFL season. Every Sunday goes by, and I'm like, what am I supposed to watch now?
The PGA Tour.
The PGA Tour.
The
Congratulations to Tiger Woods.
Baller.
So there's like 2 groups of people on the PGA Tour. They're the people who hate Tiger Woods because he cheated on his wife and he got drunk and arrested and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then there's the people who are like, this is such a great story. I almost shedded a tear for Tiger Woods. So I guess you know what side I am on. I love you, Tiger. Love Tiger Woods.
I just like watching Tiger Woods.
He's ridiculous.
Kind of a clown off the
So with
pitch,
his hat on, he looks like he did like 15 years ago.
Without his hat,
he took the hat on. He looked like he was 40 years older.
Oh yeah, easy.
It was absolutely ridiculous.
And he's probably been through a lot of crap too. Like you can tell the hair don't lie.
The hair's receding. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at the FF Champs, on Instagram at the Fantasy Champions. Go to facebook.com/the Fantasy Champions to like us. Subscribe wherever you listen. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher. We're also on YouTube, so go subscribe there. Leave a review, and reach out to your friends and share this podcast. It's very important to the success of our program.
Yeah.
Let's start off with some news from around the NFL. We did get some news this week. A little bit surprising.
A little bit, more than usual.
I didn't put this on the original list, but it just popped into my head. Seferian-Jenkins signed with the New England Patriots. They were a little busy this week.
Will he make a fantasy impact?
Will he make a fantasy? No. Sorry. I wanted to believe that this would. Here's the problem with Seferian-Jenkins. It's that he's not going to produce. People are treating his signing, the ASJ truthers, as I like to call them. They want to believe that signing is to replace Rob Gronkowski. The reality is it's not to replace Rob Gronkowski. It's just a depth signing. They're going to draft somebody. They're going to get somebody else at some point. Seferian-Jenkins, I do like him. He's only 26 years old. It feels like he's like 40.
Is he really only 26?
He's 26 years old,
Interesting.
yeah. And so he's actually not, like, he's somebody who's young. He could actually produce with the Patriots, but he's never going to produce enough to be anything close to what you would have on your team. Here, the problem with this is everyone's like, oh, he's a streaming option at tight end. Well, you tell me which game he's going to be good, and I'll give you a cookie.
We'll see what the Patriots do at the draft, actually.
Yeah.
Because if they don't draft
anyone, there's rumors floating around that they might, I don't know if these rumors are any true, but they might actually try to trade for a Jordan Reed or a Evan Engram. Which, if they do, I like Evan Engram too with the New England Patriots, but you would like to think that in the Patriots offense, that's one of the old style offenses, if you want to call it old now, with guys like Andy Reid still run similar. They don't run similar offenses, but the tight end usage is very high. Whereas some of the guys that just signed in the NFL as head coaches that are coming from college, they don't even throw to tight ends anymore.
Cliff
Kingsbury, yeah. So you're going to see an increase in Seferian targets, but outside of that, you're not really going to get more production.
Right.
They also signed, the Patriots also signed Demaryius Thomas. Extremely interesting signing. You don't think he's going to make the team?
I think he's the next Eric Decker, honestly.
Was it just
Especially
because he
with
came from the Broncos? Is that what's
No,
going on?
it's just injuries. I think he's past his prime. I like him. I would love for him to succeed. Don't get me wrong. And the name is nice. You know, it's like, oh, we just signed Demaryius Thomas, but
It wasn't long ago.
my hopes aren't too high as a Patriots fan.
It wasn't long ago that Demaryius Thomas was extremely successful. And you know who he was extremely successful under?
Who?
Peyton Manning. Going to the New England Patriots and playing under Tom Brady and them finally Josh Gordon is no hope. I mean, you hope he's going to return.
Yeah.
But as a Patriots fan, you hope he's going to return. But as a fantasy owner, obviously you would like to have Josh Gordon, but this is the only guy besides Julian Edelman on the team. And I asked you earlier, I said, is this something similar to like when they brought Randy Moss in? I hate to compare it to that, but it was just 2 years ago that he had like 90 catches and 1,100 yards. So he's not that far removed from it. The reason why he blew this year was because he got injured, and it is a
Before
bad
that,
injury.
he wasn't.
Bad injury.
It is
for
a
wide
very,
receiver.
very bad injury, yeah.
So if he can come out and produce, that's great, but I would not be surprised if they cut him either. I think if he makes the team and he's good, they'll use him similar to how they use Randy Moss.
Can you say Josh Gordon, not Randy Moss?
Josh Gordon.
It makes me cringe.
Gordon.
It makes me cringe a little bit.
I hate talking about Randy Moss so long ago. Josh Gordon, but I don't know how much fantasy production would be there.
It's probably not too much.
I mean, is he worth? If he makes the team, is he worth? Is he worth a waiver wire?
I'll look.
I'll
give him that. He'll be worth a look if he makes the team. Just because there's no receivers on the offense.
On a deep bench league. Yeah. Todd Gurley reported. Well, actually, I'll get to this first. Todd Gurley said he's feeling pretty good in an interview, but then he also followed that up by saying, "I don't know how I'm going to feel at camp." So that makes me feel a lot better, Todd Gurley.
That's called a roller coaster of emotions.
Yeah, that's true. TMZ released a video of him supposedly limping. Have you seen this video?
I did, yes.
What do you think? Is he limping or is he not limping?
I think he...
This is the most retarded video of all time is what I think. It's so stupid. You people are idiots.
I don't think he was
limping,
literally, but
TMZ was not even trying to get him limping. They were just trying to get him walk. Oh, he's walking out of a club with his buddies. Let's record it and put it on TMZ. And everyone's like, he's limping! Fantasy value! Number 14 running back!
What do you expect? It's TMZ Sports.
That's true.
No, I don't think.
Yeah.
I don't. Even
This
if
is the
even
most-
if he quote unquote was limping, we have about 6 months till the season starts.
This is the most overblown injury on the face of the planet. Like, it's so I literally watched videos online of like medical experts. There's this I forgot exactly what the guy's name was, but there's this other fantasy football podcast where, or maybe it's not a podcast, I don't know, but they talk, but it's literally doctors talking about fantasy football, and I can't remember the name of it. Regardless, they talked about Todd Gurley with this other guy I listened to, and they basically said that this type of injury is extremely bad for Todd Gurley, and that they are like running far away from Todd Gurley in drafts. And so I was nervous because of what he was saying, but the problem is that this injury kind of sparked up week 1 last season. Like, everyone forgets that this injury started week 1 of last season. Who finished the number 1 running back in half PPR and missed 2 games?
Todd Gurley.
I'm not worried about Todd Gurley in 2019 because he has arthritis in his knee. 2 years? I'm running far away.
Okay.
But like right now,
for as of today,
if Todd Gurley is going off the board at 7, you're getting a freaking gem. I think he's going to finish 3. But like, the fact that people are running that far away from Todd Gurley because of all of these stupid rumors. This is what the offseason does to you, people.
Yeah.
They desperately need football. Russell Wilson signed a $140 million 4-year extension.
Wow.
After everyone, he complained, said, no, they're not going to re-sign me. I want to be re-signed. And then
the Seahawks just started to sweat.
Yeah, they started to sweat. And then rumors started to come out that he might go to the Patriots, he might go to the Giants, he might go wherever in a trade or in a signing in a couple of years.
Then they started to sweat even more.
Yeah, they started to sweat even more, and then they dropped their pants and gave him $140 million.
Hey.
He is now the highest paid quarterback in the NFL. And I saw a graphic the other day. The top 6 highest paid quarterbacks in the NFL did not make the playoffs. So good luck, Seattle.
Yep.
Good luck. He's not worth $140 million.
No, but considering
he earned his money,
considering
but
how the market is going, and considering how much like Matt Stafford got, Kirk Cousins got.
Oh yeah,
he is worth it. I think.
Like the way he plays, his style. He's a good quarterback. Don't get me wrong. He's like a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. But like, $140 million. Like, do you want to win or do you just want to sit at home and rake in the dough?
I mean,
I think he wants to sit at home and rake in the dough.
Let's put yourself in his shoes.
That's true.
You have Super Bowl. You've got a nice wife or girlfriend. I think a wife, right?
Yeah, it's wife.
Wife. And now you're sitting there. Should I make $140 or go a little easy? No, I think I want $140 million.
It's very true. The final piece of news we have, and this actually has some fantasy value.
Okay.
The NFL is set to announce their schedule on Wednesday night. So when I say this has fantasy value, people are like, what the freak are you talking about? You can finally see, we already know who teams are playing. We just don't know when they're playing each other. This is now when you can start overthinking who you're going to stream week 1 of your fantasy season and draft that quarterback in round 15.
Yeah. Oh, gosh, yeah. Wow, that's... Talk about thinking ahead.
But you get the whole schedule out. You understand what's going on. You can see matchups, when they're going to happen, and start preparing your season. You're not thinking about, some of you might already be on week 15 and 16 planning your team for the championship, but that's a little ahead of schedule. That's all we got for the news, if you heard anything around the league lately.
No, I think the biggest thing was...
hesitated like there was.
I thought about it, and I was like, no, there isn't. The only thing is Russell Wilson.
He's distracted because the Leafs lost in the playoffs.
You mean the Lightning?
The Lightning. See,
yeah. Oh, gosh.
How much I know about hockey.
I am, yeah.
Let's get to our main segment.
Rookie Breakout.
Yeah.
Okay.
You did the Drake dance for a second.
That hotline bling.
Yeah, dude, hotline bling. Today we will discuss the top 5 rookie quarterbacks from 2018. We want to break down rookies at each position, give you an idea of how they will produce in the 2019 season, and give you an overall picture of what their draft value should be going into 2019. Do not take this the wrong way, okay? Because you're all going to get your feelings hurt with the first point. All stats are based on half PPR. So let's get into it. Baker Mayfield finished as the highest rookie quarterback fantasy pointed outage, whatever you want to say. He finished as a QB 16, but he was the number 1 finishing rookie quarterback in fantasy football. 240 fantasy points. He was absolutely fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
I love Baker.
I like him, too.
He's, I like his swagger.
Oh, gosh.
I like his attitude. I like his 27 touchdowns. Broke the rookie record right there.
So you like his swagger and you like his attitude, but you complain that Mahomes has attitude.
Here we go.
I just want to bring it up. Okay, that's all I'll say.
Yeah, I absolutely love Baker Mayfield. Over his
Mayfield.
final 8 games of the 2019 season, this is after they fired Todd Haley, the offensive coordinator, and the head coach Hugh Jackson, who Baker Mayfield hated. He finished with a 68 completion percentage, 2,254 yards, 19 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, and a big fat 106 quarterback rating. That's a QB 10 finish over the last 8 weeks of the season. And this would be prorated out at 4,500 yards, 38 touchdowns, 16 interceptions, 300 plus fantasy points, not including his rushing yards. This would finish right around QB 6 or QB 7 in fantasy this past year. And he missed 2 games. So I prorated those last 8 games. I didn't prorate his whole season and see what he got. He would have finished with 4,000 yards had he played those first 2 games of the season. the Browns did add Kareem Hunt and Odell Beckham.
Oh, that guy named Odell Beckham.
Oh, that guy named Odell Beckham. And people are now looking at Mr. Mayfield. And I've been caught up in this storm, and I need to check myself. I need to pump the brakes. People have been calling Baker Mayfield next year's Mahomes.
League MVP.
Yeah, league MVP. Next year's Mahomes, a guy that's going to come out and throw 50 bombs. That is so far.
It's
detached from reality.
I get the idea.
Wow.
Considering he was, as you said, prorated last half of the season, was I think 6th. You said.
Yep.
Adds Odell Beckham, adds Kareem Hunt. I get the line of thinking. Is a year older.
Yeah.
He's not gonna throw 50 touchdowns. Let's take a step back. Let's breathe. The Browns are such a wild card team.
Yeah.
Because they're either gonna go, as you said, 14-2, or they're gonna go 8-8 and everything's gonna implode, and they're gonna be like, "How is this talented team not making the playoffs?"
It's true. It's so true.
Well, when you have a locker room of Baker Mayfield, Odell Beckham, Kareem Hunt,
I don't know if that's
could backfire.
I don't know if that's going to be that much of a problem, per se. I think it's just going to be more of, like, you literally added all this talent, and you already had some talent. Like, you probably would have been good without the talent that you brought in.
Oh, yeah, so, yeah.
But he's got all the talent in the world, right? He's got better coaching. He's got the guy he wants, Freddie Kitchens, coaching him, right? They can work together on that offense, and they can do what Baker wants to do. You saw the second half of the year in his offense. He looked pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Is Mayfield worth what people are drafting him at, which you looked at? He was the 4th QB off the board. Is he worth that?
I think that's just a little bit too high. That is too high.
That's way too high.
Would you say way too high?
Well, considering 2 months ago he was getting drafted, not 2 months ago, a month ago, he was getting drafted
projected 10th round, right?
10th round.
Okay. So
4th quarterback off the board is a little high.
It is, but where would you say he's ranked among quarterbacks as of today?
I said he would finish 6th among quarterbacks next year. Mm-hmm. But as far as my rankings are concerned, I'd have to pull them up. But there's a lot of quarterbacks that I like over Baker Mayfield, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, I know.
And it's not even just, like, I love Baker Mayfield. He was a guy that I was, like, targeting, even before they got Odell, before they brought in Kareem Hunt. Now, Kareem Hunt doesn't make a huge difference, but before all that happened, they still had Jarvis Landry. They still had a good offensive line. They still had
David
Njoku. They had Nick Chubb. They had some good pieces on their offense, right? And so I was like, he's a great 10th round pick. They added one guy, Rick. Right. Odell Beckham made him jump 5 rounds.
4 rounds, because he's going the 6th. So that's why I said, that's why I only said a tad. Because Odell should jump you at, I would say, like 2 to 3 rounds.
Yeah.
4, I think, is a little much. Being the 4th quarterback off the board is a little much.
Yeah.
I think that people are getting a little too crazy on the hype train, but
yeah.
I do think he did deserve an increase.
My last edited rankings in March had Mahomes 1, Rodgers 2, Ryan 3, Luck 4, Watson 5, Newton 6, Goff 7, Phillip Rivers 8, Roethlisberger 9, Russell Wilson 10, and then going from there.
Did you have Matt Ryan on that list?
Yeah, Matt Ryan's down at where did I put Matt Ryan? Oh, he's up at 3.
Oh, okay, all right.
So
you had Matt Ryan 3?
Yeah.
Interesting. This was before the Odell trade, correct?
Yes, this is before the Odell trade. So I would probably, on this one, I have Baker Mayfield 16. Just because there was nothing really jumping him forward. But I would probably move him up past Phillip Rivers, which would put him in 8 on my boards. I would probably take Goff, Newton, Watson, Luck, Ryan, Rodgers, and Mahomes over him.
I think I'd take him over Newton and Goff.
Okay. Why?
Because the Odell factor.
Sorry, I have a cold. I keep coughing.
That's okay. I think considering what you said earlier, the prorated that he finished 6th in the second half of the year, he's going to have the same offense. You add Odell, Kareem Hunt will help once he plays.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to be number 4. Again, that's, I think, a little too high. But I don't think it's crazy to say that he could be top 7, top 6.
I don't think it's crazy to say that. I just think it's crazy that he has been hyped up into that position. Because here's the thing with me. Baker last season, whether we believe it or not, whether we want to believe it or not, finished as the QB 16.
Correct. And didn't play in 2 games, right?
He didn't play in 2 games. Okay. So I did the numbers on that, and he would have finished ahead of Tom Brady, I believe, right behind Andy Dalton with those 2 games if you gave him an average of 17 fantasy points a game, which is what I think his outage was.
Yep.
So if you look at Baker Mayfield and you say, okay, he finished as like the 15th quarterback, right, last year, what makes people so quick to believe, besides the Odell Beckham addition, what makes people so quick to believe that Baker Mayfield is just all of the sudden, because I have a note here when I made these rankings, major watch, could be a breakout. Before they added Odell, he was Baker Mayfield's a guy to look at. He's a guy to watch. It could be a similar situation as Patrick Mahomes the past year. Patrick Mahomes came into the season. He's talented, good. He can get out of the pocket. He can do everything well. And he has all this talent around him. He's going to break out. That's why you drafted Patrick Mahomes. You got him in the 9th round. You look at Baker Mayfield. That's what Baker Mayfield was supposed to be. But now you got all this hype. You got all this stuff surrounding him. You got a ton of people drafting him far too early in their drafts. Yeah. And now I'm looking down at my notes and being like, why are people drafting Baker Mayfield so high? Because if he doesn't live up to the hype,
that is true.
And he busts, people are going to be sitting here. This is where people arguably 4th, 5th, 6th round. This is where people arguably drafted, and some people drafted him way higher. Aaron Rodgers last year. This is where people did that.
Like a 3rd round pick last year, yeah.
And he finished as the QB 6 this year. How badly did Aaron Rodgers hurt
it was really only QB 6 because he scored 40, 50 in the last game of the season. He would have been QB 10.
How badly did Aaron Rodgers hurt teams that he was on?
He did. He hurt teams. We can say it. We can prove it in our own
when I
league.
say Baker Mayfield's going off the board as the 4th quarterback in the 5th or 6th round, and the first 5 rounds to me, let's just assume he's the 5th round.
He will be a 5th rounder.
He will be a 5th rounder in a lot of leagues. In the first 5 rounds, I've said this before, and we're going to go over this on a draft strategy show when we get that far in the offseason. But when we get that far, we'll talk about building the structure of your team in those first 5 rounds is so key. And if you're wasting it on a risky pick for a quarterback that may not even finish as the 6th best quarterback on the board next year, who has to live up to all of this hype, who has to carry an organization who sucked for a very long time into the promised land. Like this is a lot for one man to take on. Like he has to be good. This is not the Browns, well, they don't have to be good. They have to be good now.
They have to make the playoffs.
This is it. Like Freddie Kitchens is out if you don't play well. Like John Dorsey might be out if you don't play well. This is the team that you have to win with right now. And I don't know if Baker can do it. That's my problem, is that I'm not wasting.
I think he can.
That is like one giant question mark right next to Baker Mayfield. And it's like, does that make you want to draft him?
No, it doesn't. But I do think he can. And
I think he
can. I agree with you for most of the things you said. The one thing you did say is you asked me, other than Odell, what gives you reason to draft? Like that increase. And I did just talk about this earlier, but I'll bring it up again. Is you said earlier the pro-rated stats in the second half. Once Hugh Jackson, like that whole team was awful when he was head coach. Once they moved away from him, and which they're not going to have Hugh Jackson in 2019. Once they moved away from him, Mayfield was a different quarterback. He was fantastic. You're going to have that throughout the entire season with Odell, with Kareem Hunt for at least like 6 games. Mm-hmm. I think that gives you enough reason to jump him into the top 7 or 6 guys.
To me, I do believe he's going to finish as a top 6 quarterback. I think it's just it's not a buyer beware. It's more or less it's too high. Like, if he was even where I would draft him, Rick, is the 9th round, and that's a lot of people.
9th round
are gonna be like, they're gonna be like, oh my gosh. Yeah. I can't follow the crowd on this because I'm not drafting a quarterback right now. There are 5 guys. There are 5 guys in the last 5 rounds that I'm gonna take, and I'm not taking Baker Mayfield. I would have taken Baker Mayfield if before the Odell trade. Yeah. But after the Odell trade, I didn't, and I should have, but I did not anticipate. Thank God I didn't do any drafting.
I remember I told you this at the time.
Yeah. I didn't anticipate the explosion surrounding him. We'll see if that increases or decreases as,
it might move around.
Joe Schmo, who deleted his fantasy app off his phone and then decided, oh, crap, it's football season. I got to go do my fantasy draft, and jumps right back in how he drafts. But to me right now, the people that are still following and sticking in it consistently, they are very in on Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
And the people who are very in on Baker Mayfield may be very burned 5 weeks into the season.
It makes sense. But for me, you could
Don't get me wrong. I love you, Baker.
I think the quarterbacks, though, it's a kind of like Mahomes, Luck, Rodgers, Watson. I think you'll get very solid production out of those 4 guys.
Right.
After that, I think there's a chance Mayfield could be 5th. Like, there's a chance that somebody's going to step up.
There's a chance what I mean? Mayfield could be 1.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But, like, those guys are going to be consistent, I don't know. I think the drop-off is enough there where you can justify taking Mayfield as the 5th quarterback and be like, well, Cam Newton was there. Cam Newton is good. I like him, but, Cam Newton has his ups and downs. Jared Goff was there. How is he going to turn it up? Like, is he going to be the same guy he was for the first half of the season or the second half of the season?
Right.
Russell Wilson's there. That you probably should take Russell Wilson, but Drew Brees is there. Yeah. Drew Brees is going to fall off. Right. He's getting older each year. Like, there's justifiable reasons to take Mayfield.
Yeah, most definitely. I think it's just a value thing for me. You know what I mean? Like, I don't necessarily have a problem with taking Baker Mayfield. So you think that's where
It's where he is.
I
know what you mean. Yeah.
It's like I'm not drafting Baker Mayfield in the 4th round. I'm not drafting Baker Mayfield in the 5th round. I'm not drafting Baker Mayfield in the 6th round because in my draft strategy and my plans, Baker Mayfield does not fall into them. Like there are wide.
That's like how I feel about Mahomes.
Yes.
I love Mahomes, but I don't want to take a quarterback in the late 2nd, early 3rd round.
Yeah, it's not going to work. So, and we talked about this before, drafting quarterbacks high, drafting tight ends high isn't a valuable draft strategy.
Yeah.
Because the second, not only, like, you have to think about drafts in a, like, perspective-based way of, like, don't just think about the draft. And I said this before, like in previous episodes, if you want to go listen to the series All That Glitters, you have plenty of time to do so before the season starts. But I've talked about this before where the quarterback position and the tight end position are completely, like, the second you draft them, they're completely valueless, almost. Whereas, if I draft Patrick Mahomes high, what am I going to get in return if I try to trade him? Am I going to get a 1st, 2nd, or 3rd round player? No, I'm not.
Probably not, no.
No.
It's smart.
If I draft George Kittle in the 4th round, am I going to get a 4th round value?
If you draft George Kittle, are you going to get Leonard Fournette for him?
No.
In a trade?
No. If I offer George
Depends
Kittle
on the league, I guess.
To one of the guys in our league, and I know exactly the person, he would have said no. Well, he might have said yes. I don't know. But
most likely would have said no.
Most likely would have said no. And so when you look at the value and you compare it from player to player, yes, you're thinking about building your team, and you're like, oh, I love this guy. I love getting George Kittle on my team. I love getting Baker Mayfield on my team. I'm glad I spent that 5th round pick on him. Well, when the season starts and he has one good game, and you're like, you know what? I don't need this good quarterback. I need some running backs you should have drafted with the Baker Mayfield pick. And then you try to deal them. No one's going to want them. They're going to be like, well, the quarterbacks aren't that valuable. I'm not going to trade them. You have to think about drafts more. You have to think about your fantasy draft more than just being the draft.
I think a perfect example of that is last season. We looked at guys like let's say you spent a 2nd or 3rd round pick on Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
And somebody drafted Matt Ryan in the last round. they're not going to look at that and be like, oh, it's Aaron Rodgers. Like, quarterbacks, other than Mahomes last year, were pretty close together in fantasy points. So why are you going to take one in the 5th round when you can get someone who's probably going to be around the same, if not better, in round 13?
It's true. You can't.
Kirk Cousins last year was going in the 5th round.
And this is why it's not even just a quantitative risk for me. If Baker Mayfield is guaranteed, let's just say he's guaranteed top 6. Right? You go into the future. You travel with Doc Brown in his time capsule time machine, the DeLorean.
Yeah.
And you go get the sports almanac and you find out that freaking Baker Mayfield's going to finish as the 5th best quarterback, right?
Okay.
Are you going to draft him still at that 5th round spot?
I probably wouldn't.
No.
I'd take him 6th round maybe, but
even if see? That's the problem. And they're going to be so go ahead. If I'm in a league with you and you listen to this podcast, go ahead. Take Baker Mayfield. Do it. I don't care.
I mean, let's say I did just come back from the future and I know he's going to finish 5th.
Welcome to the Rookie Show where we talk only about Baker Mayfield.
Yeah. In that scenario, I would take him in the 6th round, not the 5th. That's a little high.
6th round, yeah, maybe.
Because I have my first 5 rounds.
But even that, like this is the big thing for me is that when you look at last year, the 6th quarterback to finish, like I said, Aaron Rodgers, Jared Goff, Andrew Luck was 5, but should have been a little bit higher. But Aaron Rodgers, Jared Goff, Drew Brees, Russell Wilson, those 4 guys right there burned fantasy teams, and it wasn't because. When you draft a quarterback that high, you are expecting that quarterback to be your ride or die quarterback. Like you're going to go with him the entire season.
Carson Wentz burned teams last year. Kirk Cousins burned teams last year.
And I think that's the big thing is like
Cam Newton burned some teams
this
last year.
This is why I'm going in the extreme opposite end of the spectrum is I'm going to stream quarterbacks.
Tom Brady burned teams last year.
Yeah, people are still going to draft them very high.
Yeah,
like 8th round. But anyway, this is why I'm streaming quarterbacks next year because I don't see the value in holding unless you get Patrick Mahomes or unless you get Aaron Rodgers or unless you get Andrew Luck or even Deshaun Watson. Unless you get one of those 3 or 4 guys, you're not going to get consistent like 4 or 5, 6, 7 huge games out of a guy.
Yeah.
You're not going to get that. Like Aaron Rodgers, like you said, he had like 2 40-point games, and then the rest of the season it was like 17, 18 points. You get 2 40-point games out, and you're getting burned at the quarterback, right? Unless you drafted somebody in that spot.
And people might be saying like, oh, well, if those are the only 4 guys, why not draft one of them? Well, because look at the top 5, 6 last year. This is the year before that.
This is what I go to, and I wrote these numbers down, and I thought it was important to go with this. So going off those 8 games, right? Those final 8 games where I gave you all those numbers.
With Mayfield?
Yeah. Do you want to know what his bust percentage was with a QB1 finish being over 20 points and a bust being under 20?
Okay.
He had a 50% bust percentage.
Okay.
He had a game where his first game he finished with 18. His second game he finished with 22. I can't believe I have this memorized. His third game he finished with 13. Fourth game he finished with 13. Fifth game he finished with 12. Sixth game he finished with 22. Ooh. And the 8th game he finished with like 25. I think did I skip a game?
7.
Oh, 7. Yeah. Somewhere it was like 20, 22, and 25 or something like that. So slowly improved, got better, but at times he still had a rocky performance. Is he worth that 4th round pick? No. And so
4th
that's
round is way too early.
5th round, or I mean 5th round or 6th round.
5th round I think is still obviously too early. And I think
6th round is
6th round
stretch.
I think is I agree. That's
so I mean the numbers don't lie on Baker. I just think we need to. I'm not saying don't draft Baker Mayfield. Stay away. Stay far away. Don't draft him that high is what I'm saying. And B, I'm saying that Baker Mayfield is extremely talented. And he's extremely good. And he's got all this talent around him. I would not be surprised if he finished in the top 3, and I would not be surprised if he ends up being one of the best quarterbacks in fantasy next year. And he doesn't burn.
He's got the upside. I think he has a higher upside than he's got a higher upside than Russell Wilson.
I'm not.
But the floor for Wilson is lower, or higher,
right.
I should say.
Yeah, right. And I think Baker could completely destroy. I just don't. For me, when I do a draft, I don't want to go back and go, oh, I shouldn't have drafted a quarterback there. I've done that too many times in my fantasy life.
Carson Wentz.
My fantasy football life. Yeah, Carson Wentz. Drafting a quarterback high and then going back and saying, there was a guy there that I was looking at, but I took the quarterback instead. Don't draft Baker Mayfield.
Last year in our own draft.
Don't draft Baker Mayfield at 5 or 6.
In our own draft, like I didn't have a quarterback. People were like, I don't want to name names, Fred, if you're listening, was like, oh, you got to get a quarterback. Like, you don't have a quarterback. You know the 3 guys that I was looking at in round 10 last year? Mahomes, Breeze, Andrew Luck were all available in the 10th round of our draft. We have a very competitive draft. Like, there are guys out there in the later rounds that you can get.
Definitely. These are some of the guys, if you're caring about the rest of the rookie class. Josh Allen finished as the 20th quarterback on the board, the second highest rookie. He had it doesn't even matter what his consistency rank is, but he did average. It was low. Yeah. He averaged 17 points a game. Now, Josh Allen, over the last, I believe it was the last 4 weeks of the season, finished as the QB3 in fantasy football over the last 4 weeks.
Wow.
I believe he had 2 games with 4 points. Now, I wanted to look up the numbers, like the legitimate statistics for Josh Allen. And
what he did.
He didn't throw the football all too well in those games.
Yeah.
What he does is he runs all over the field like a buffoon. He scored 2 touchdowns passing and 2 touchdowns rushing in one of those games. So he is a good value in the late rounds.
He's kind of the opposite of Mayfield.
He's the opposite of Mayfield. And I like Josh Allen because I don't know, when you look at what he did this season, you hope he doesn't repeat what he did this year with 208 fantasy points. That's not what you want.
Well, he added 2 receivers. 2 guys
Two okay receivers, yeah.
Which isn't a bad thing, because now there's which is something they didn't have last year. They have a good depth at the receiver position.
Yeah.
He gets a year older. I don't think he's going to be anything insane.
Yeah.
But if you are looking for a sleeper, he's going in the 13th round.
Right. I mean,
take a flyer on him. Do a strategy where you take a guy maybe in the 12th round where Ben Roethlisberger. Mm-hmm. You take him, maybe you take Jared Goff. You take a guy that you think you're going to get good value out of, then you take Josh Allen.
Yeah.
Take a flyer on him. That's what I did last year with the Breeze and Mahomes thing.
Yeah.
That's a guy who has potential to be a top 10 fantasy quarterback next year.
See, for me, I don't need the, I guess you could say you're handcuffing your quarterback, but I don't need to handcuff my quarterback. I'm just streaming it all out. I'm going.
That's the difference between me and you, though.
I'm throwing it right in the pond. And next year you'll be like, I'm streaming quarterbacks.
Okay, we'll see. We'll see. It's not a bad idea. So.
Anyway, yeah. I mean, the way that I look at it, and I don't want to get in a long tangent on this, but the way that I look at it for streaming quarterbacks is the way I look at it is like this. If I can get hitting on a quarterback streaming wise is not very difficult. Mm-hmm. If you can average 21 to 22 points a game, hitting on your QB stream, then you're going to score more fantasy points than Patrick Mahomes did for his entire season. Yeah, you may not get a 40-point outing, but you're not going to have those weeks where the guy scores 12 or 13 fantasy points and you had to go with him because you spent a second-round pick on him.
Yeah.
So, anyway, Josh Allen is one of my sleepers. I think he's 5th on my sleeper list for quarterbacks. He went down after they didn't get anyone besides those 2 wide receivers.
Which are Cole Beasley and
the
Ravens.
John Brown.
Yep.
So, he got some people to throw to. My concern with Josh Allen is that he is very interception prone. He loves to turn the ball over. If he stops,
a lot of young quarterbacks are, though.
If he stops turning the ball over, right? And like you said, a lot of young quarterbacks do that. If he stops turning the ball over and he does what he did in those last 4 games this season, he could finish as a top 5 quarterback. And some people are going to be like, "Oh my gosh, that's a hard." No, I didn't say he was going to finish as a top 5 quarterback. I said he has the potential to finish I think he has a high ceiling.
He does. That's kind of why I brought up I guess it is handcuffing, picking a veteran that you know is going to succeed.
Told you.
And then Josh Allen. because his ceiling, as you said, is high.
Right.
And when he finished 4th, you said,
in
the last 4 weeks,
that's third.
That's third. That's pretty good.
That's pretty good. And I mean, he had some good games, but he also, he busted a lot of games. You can't look at this past season's numbers as a reference for what Josh Allen's going to do outside of what he did towards the end of the season.
Yeah.
This is a do or die season for Josh Allen, I think, because if he doesn't work out, I don't know how much longer the Bills will wait on him.
They're still not a good team.
They're not a good team at all. But was Josh Allen a good quarterback? That's
last
the question.
year.
Yeah. So I loved if Josh Allen improves and stops throwing picks. Josh Allen could be a very good fantasy quarterback because he runs it all over the field.
Yep.
He could be very similar to Cam Newton. Cam Newton has a better arm than Josh Allen. Well,
no, I think Josh Allen has a better arm.
So, if he can figure out how to throw the ball in the NFL, he's going to run it all over the field like Cam Newton. He could finish as a top 5 quarterback.
It's not actually crazy if you think
it's
about it.
It's not crazy if you really do think about it.
It sounds crazy, but it's not.
Because the end of last year, the worst case scenario is that Josh Allen comes out in the first 3 games of the season is average, and whoever drafted him in the 13th round.
Correct.
Like,
That's
I need to
the
pick some guy up off the waiver
wire. That is
wire.
the difference between him and Mayfield.
And if you were to sit there, and I see him as a great streaming option if he's sitting on the waiver wire, but I would not be surprised if he's sitting on the waiver wire by week 3. And
he might not be drafted in some leagues.
He might not even be drafted in some leagues. So it's like Josh Allen will be there. He will be there for you at some point to pick up off the waiver wire or draft. And so it's your choice. You can either draft Baker Mayfield with the 4th pick, or you can take a risk on Josh Allen with a much less risky pick and a much more valuable one. Sam Darnold was the 3rd finisher among rookies. He finished 26th among quarterbacks. He was straight up bad if you were talking in terms of fantasy this past year. But he had a decent rookie season. The Jets added Le'Veon Bell. They didn't add much to their receiving core besides, was it Robbie Anderson, or I can't remember who it was. They added one more receiver.
Jamison Crowder.
Jamison Crowder, thank you. And they have Chris Herndon, who they believe in as their tight end. There's not too many targets around Sam Darnold.
No.
But I want him to be good.
I do too.
Desperately want Sam Darnold to be good.
The thing with Sam Darnold, I think he's talented. I think he's probably in the long run dynasty leagues. I would take him over Josh Allen.
Yeah.
For this upcoming year, they didn't really do too much. I think he will improve from last year, but I don't think he's going to take too much of a step. Although, if you look in the past, adding a very good running back so the defense focuses on the running back to a young quarterback does help young quarterbacks. So having that veteran running back that is pretty darn good, like Le'Veon Bell. So I do think that'll help.
Yeah.
But I don't see him taking too big of a step. But again, 13 round, like you're sitting there in round 13, you have Ben Roethlisberger, and you're like, maybe I want to take a flyer on him. He's one of those guys that I would definitely sleeper alert,
Yeah.
Now I have a question.
What's that?
Would you take Josh Allen or Sam Darnold? Because currently, you want to know where they're going in drafts?
Where?
Sam Darnold is going 1 in half PPR, 10-team league. He's going pick 123.2. Josh Allen is going pick 123.3. That's literally the exact same.
That's ridiculous. I would probably so like you said, in a dynasty league, I'd love to have Sam Darnold over Josh Allen. I think in the short term, this is what I'm starting
upcoming season.
For this upcoming season, for redraft leagues, which is what we talk about. The thing with Josh Allen is his rushing yards and his rushing touchdowns. If he continues to produce in that area, he will be good. And I think those guys are instantly good. It takes a guy like Sam Darnold a couple of years to get to the point where he's actually going to be fantasy relevant, because he's relying.
Would you say
he's putting all of his fantasy numbers for the quarterback position in one basket? He's saying all of my passing numbers are going to be my fantasy points, whereas a guy like Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson, who we'll talk about in a second, are passing and throwing the football. So they may not pass it as much. They may not get as good passing numbers as Sam Darnold does, but they get the rushing yards to boost up their fantasy numbers. And I think in terms of real life quarterbacks, I would take Sam Darnold. In fantasy, I would take Josh Allen.
I agree. I'd take Josh Allen. Maybe not this upcoming season for Darnold, but maybe the following season is when he takes that next step of being an elite fantasy quarterback. But
right.
As of redraft leagues, as of today, I'd probably have Josh Allen ahead of Sam Darnold.
I mean, as far as what the Jets added for Sam Darnold, I do like the improvement. Like you said, adding Le'Veon Bell to that offense gives somebody, like last year when you faced the Jets, as a defensive coordinator or defensive-minded coach,
you didn't have to worry about anything.
You didn't have to worry about much of anything. It was okay, let's solve this rookie quarterback. So if Darnold can take that step forward, Adam Gase is decent with quarterbacks. The time that he had with what's-his-face over in what's his name? In
Miami?
Yeah, what's the quarterback?
Ryan
Tannehill. I knew it was Ryan. I was in the right direction. Ryan Tannehill, he had Ryan Tannehill as a pet project, and Ryan Tannehill for a couple of seasons was actually relatively good. The problem with Tannehill was his injuries.
Couldn't stay on the field.
He couldn't stay on the field. Now Darnold can stay on the field, so Adam Gase gets a good quarterback who can stay on the field, and if he can turn him into something decent, he might actually be a good producer. I think Sam Darnold's far more talented than Ryan Tannehill. So it's a question of how many seasons it's going to take Sam Darnold to get up to a top 5 producer. You see a guy like Deshaun Watson. He puts up good passing numbers. Not great. I mean, they're to the par of a quarterback in the NFL, like a good quarterback. 4,000 yards, 30 touchdowns, that type of thing. So that's good. But those fantasy numbers don't, calculate. That's like a QB 11. But adding his rushing numbers into that pads the stats a little bit, and it puts him in the top of the conversation. So
he goes from top 10 to top 5.
For Darnold to get to the top, he's got to pass like Aaron Rodgers, Andrew Luck, and Patrick Mahomes. Can he do that this year?
No.
Heck to the no. He's a good streaming option, though. Lamar Jackson is number 4 on this list, finished as the QB 28. Baltimore is going run the crap heavy. They're going to run it right down the throats of everyone that they play.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I have recently grown an affinity for Lamar Jackson. Not in real life. If I was a GM in the NFL, this is the last quarterback that I would want on my team. Like,
wow.
There's like 67. There's like 95 quarterbacks in the NFL right now. I would take all 95 out of them.
It should be stated, like people who are especially Ravens fans, it should be just stated that Morgan here absolutely hates running quarterbacks.
I don't like. Well, I mean, for fantasy, I love running quarterbacks.
And non-fantasy wise.
Yeah. So Lamar Jackson. I've grown an affinity for Lamar Jackson because I looked at his numbers and I prorated them for the entire season of him starting. Do you know how many rushing yards he would get and how many rushing touchdowns he would get if he
He'd be like a running back.
If he prorates out, you'd have 1,200 rushing yards and like 9 rushing touchdowns.
That's insane.
That is a running back in the NFL. So that's like 200 plus fantasy points just on rushing. And then he would have right around 15 touchdowns and about 2,500 to 3,000 yards passing if he improves a little bit in the passing game. Putting all that together, he would be at like 350 to 370 fantasy points. That's this season. So I love Lamar Jackson next year.
Okay.
And he's going in the 14th round, right?
So
this
is where the strategy might change.
Oh, no.
He was going in the 14th round.
You're killing me, fantasy owners. You're killing me.
After the Mark Ingram signing over the last month, he has jumped from the 14th round to the 11th.
Okay, I'm all right with that.
Okay. See, I was going to say the same thing. I don't love him as much in the 11th round as I do the 14th, but I still like him for everything you said.
Like right now in the 11th round in my mock drafts, I'm targeting Jameis Winston.
Okay, yeah, he's going 10th round, I think, right now.
Yeah, so I would not mind having a Lamar Jackson in the 11th round, but it's high. It's really high, people. He shouldn't even be drafted. 157 fantasy points out of like 10 games.
People see what you see, though.
Yeah, it's like if those numbers. Now, here's the other problem. You know what Lamar Jackson's going to do next year, right?
Yeah.
He's going to run the football.
It's true.
So if he's running it, defenses are going to figure that out.
That's why.
And they're in a very good defensive division, like except for Cincinnati.
Well, I mean,
Pittsburgh's got a good defense. The Browns have a good
improving.
defense.
Yeah, the Browns' offense is more. Their defense isn't bad, but I know what you mean.
Great defensive line on the Browns. Great defense.
Yeah.
So Lamar Jackson's going to have a tough time running it as much as they do. And honestly, and this is how much I don't like Lamar Jackson in a real life sense. I don't know how long he's going to stay in the starting role in Baltimore.
Oh, well, they
season.
traded Joe Flacco.
They
so
traded
have
Joe
to.
Flacco, so they kind of have to start him. But what if it doesn't work? And it's not going to work. I guarantee you it's not going to work. I know you disagree with that, but the second this team gets behind,
I do think if
he's going to have to throw it, and he can't.
If he really can't throw next year, then you're right. It's not going to work.
Yeah, that's what I think is going to happen. I mean, if he improves, I got a report today. I got a report today saying coaches think that Lamar Jackson has improved his accuracy.
He doesn't have to be like Aaron Rodgers throwing the ball, but he just has to be decent. And I think he can be decent. I don't think he was last year, but I think eventually and that might be this year, he can be a decent thrower of the football.
Yeah, I mean, you're
right, he has to be, though.
If he does improve. Now, he doesn't throw a lot of picks. That's the other thing, is that he's not going to be taken off the field because of the interceptions. But if he literally just can't throw it accurately, then he's not going to be the guy for Baltimore. Here's the problem with the style of offense that Baltimore is going to try to run next year, is that they have to run the ball 50 times. They're going to try to run the ball 50 times, and then pass it like 15. The problem with Baltimore is that the second they fall behind in a game, Lamar Jackson has now got to throw it. And if he can't throw it, there's going to be a lot of games where Baltimore Ravens fall behind. They're not going to be able to keep pace with the rest of the NFL. It's like a 1970s football team trying to join the NFL today. It's like can you imagine when this team faces the Kansas City Chiefs? It's going to be like touchdown, 28-0, and Lamar Jackson's still trying to run the football.
Yeah. It was kind of like that in the playoffs, except they played good defense. But
if their defense is good, it might
they
work
played the
a
Chargers,
bit.
right?
But everyone, this is completely out of the fantasy realm. Everyone who thinks Baltimore is going to be a sneaky team and you're going to be real good this year, back the truck up. Their defense can get them places, but I
think they'll be okay.
They're not going to. They can't win a playoff game with this team.
I don't think that. I think they might make the playoffs though.
Let's conclude this conversation with a young man. We don't even know if he's going to start next season, but we'll throw him on this list anyway. These are all 5 of these guys were drafted in the first round of last draft, and I like all 5 of them.
I know.
By the way,
it was a great draft,
except for Lamar Jackson.
Fantastic.
But Josh Rosen, 5th quarterback. There was another rookie quarterback, Nick Mullins, who finished ahead of him at 30. But Nick Mullins will not start next year unless Jimmy Garoppolo gets hurt.
Yeah.
Is he even still on the San Francisco 49ers? I don't even know.
I think so, yeah.
Josh Rosen finished as the number 33 quarterback. There's a lot of questions surrounding Josh Rosen. We don't even know if he's going to play.
Probably not. I think there's like a 80% chance he's getting traded.
If he gets traded to the Patriots or the Giants, Josh Rosen will not start a game next year. Probably. Unless Eli Manning is absolutely atrocious. If he gets traded to the Washington Redskins, Josh Rosen will probably play some games.
If that's the case, I'd still stay far away from him fantasy-wise because the Redskins are not going anywhere.
Yeah, sorry. I would definitely stay away from him. Now, if Arizona sticks with Josh Rosen and they draft Nick Bosa or they trade the pick away and they stick with Josh Rosen, I really do like Josh Rosen on the Arizona Cardinals next year. And the reason why is because every single play call last season was completely uninspired and it was bad. It was not Josh Rosen's fault that he was bad. He did have some he had some bad plays, but you literally have to go and watch the film. You have to go look up Strong Opinion Sports and watch his video on Josh Rosen. Love that dude. But watch his video on Josh Rosen, and he will explain to you why Josh Rosen is actually good. He had a couple of mistakes in a couple of games, And a lot of people were like, oh my gosh, he was really bad. He didn't do good. His numbers were bad. He only averaged 8 fantasy points per game. He busted 100% of the time. His consistency rank was 34. Like, he didn't even finish among the 32 quarterbacks. So Josh Rosen was not good last year. But Josh Rosen, he had the same completion percentage as Sam Darnold, Josh Allen, right?
Mm-hmm.
He had, I think the same amount of touchdowns as Sam Darnold did, and the same amount of yards that Josh Allen did passing. So he didn't really do that far away from what Sam Darnold and Josh Allen produced. Yeah. Rosen is going to be a good quarterback. He has a really good arm. He has tenacity. He has the drive to do it. Whereas a guy like Josh Allen, I think he'll turd himself, and he's just not. Josh Allen is
I don't know.
I don't know if he's got the fight in him, but Josh Rosen's got fight in him somewhere. He just was on a bad team. I think he's got a good arm. He's got good accuracy. Believe it or not, he's got a great connection with Christian Kirk, who is the future wide receiver of the Arizona Cardinals. He was drafted in the second round, so I can say that viably. But Josh Rosen, I don't know about next year, but if he stays on the Cardinals, I think he could actually be decent in coming years. If he stays on the Cardinals as a starting quarterback, I might take a look at him for next year, but he's nothing more than a streaming option. I would not doubt that he even is on anyone's radar next year.
Yeah. So if, like I was saying,
like they're in the market to get like N'Keal Harry, who is like putting DK Metcalf in a box very far away. N'Keal Harry's the top wide receiver in the class.
Okay. Yeah, which would be a good pickup.
That would be a good pickup.
So you said you love Josh Rosen if he stays on the Cardinals.
I do.
Where do you have him higher than Sam Darnold next year if he stays on the Cardinals?
No.
Do you have him higher than Josh Allen?
No.
Lamar Jackson?
No.
Okay. Just making sure. Is he getting drafted?
No.
Okay. So we're on the same page.
Yeah. So I mean, I'll stay away from Rosen. I mean, I might, if he has like a decent game one, like where he gets 18 fantasy points or 20 fantasy points, like I might pick him up and stick him on my bench and hope that he breaks out or something. But I really do like Josh Allen. I'm rooting for Josh Allen.
You mean Rosen?
Josh Rosen, sorry. My God, I get those guys mixed up. Even when I'm writing notes, I write the wrong names. I'm really rooting for Josh Rosen to succeed. I honestly think they're going to take. Now, we can flip this. We got to complete the show, but we can flip this discussion really fast. Josh Rosen is a starting quarterback of the Arizona Cardinals right now. Assuming that they take, now we're assuming the opposite end, that they don't take Nick Bosa or trade the pick, that they take Mr. Kyler Murray. And they trade Josh Rosen, because the second they do that, they have to trade Josh Rosen.
Yep.
There are people arguing that Josh Rosen can stay on the team if they no. They got to trade Josh Rosen. He's going to check out. He's going to hold out. He's not going to play for the Arizona Cardinals. They will trade him away. If that happens, he's very far away from ever being a fantasy
probably
anything.
Because if he goes to the Redskins, he's going to blow.
Now we'll talk about
fantasy wise.
We'll probably on our NFL draft recap show in 3 weeks talk about Kyler Murray, but just really fast. What do you think of Kyler Murray on the Arizona Cardinals in 2019?
I like it. I don't know about for 2019.
Yeah,
might be like
a little hot.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, it's very early. We'll see where he gets drafted and stuff. But I do like it for the most part.
Yeah, I like Kyler Murray.
Especially in that offense.
I like Kyler Murray in 2020.
Yeah, right.
Not next year. I mean, when you see what a good, one of the better rookie performances of a quarterback of all time in Baker Mayfield.
You saw that. Do you think he could be a Baker Mayfield type?
I think he could finish it with Baker Mayfield numbers. He might finish with a little bit.
16th?
I actually see him more finishing like a Deshaun Watson the year he tore his ACL.
Okay, yeah.
But he won't tear his ACL, and he'll actually be able to finish the season. Let's hope. He was on pace for a lot of fantasy points that year, Deshaun Watson. So that's where I see Kyler Murray being if he goes to Arizona or kind of wherever he goes, I guess.
I think it depends. Well, actually, because the teams interested in him are like let's say he goes to Oakland, I think he'll do good. Giants, he'll do okay. I think Cardinals, he'll do good. So yeah, I mean for the most part. Yeah,
definitely. That'll do it for the QB position for rookies. I believe that was all the rookies. We didn't talk about tight ends. I mentioned it last week offhand that we were gonna talk about. talk about tight ends on the show this week.
There aren't any.
And there aren't any. Mark Andrews of Baltimore Ravens, who's getting a lot of looks right now. Some people who commented on our tight end posts in the past week were in love with Mark Andrews. And I'm like, you're in love with a tight end who's going to be in an offense that doesn't pass the football?
Hey, if they do pass the football, though, I think he will get targets.
Yeah, big time.
But
so that'll do it for the QB position for rookies. Hopefully this episode prepares you for the 2019 fantasy football season. And make sure you listen next week for the rookie running back / wide receiver program for 2018, the rookies.
Yeah, Sony Michelle, baby.
And that'll do it. Thank you for listening to the Fantasy Champions podcast. See you later, guys.
Peace out.
Thank you for listening to the Fantasy Champions podcast. Make sure you subscribe on iTunes and YouTube and follow us on Twitter @TheFFChamps.